Yes, we're recording. Okay. Hi, this is Atlas coming to you with another My Fellow Citizens. I can word good. I'm joined by my compatriot, Ben Richards. Say hi.
Hello.
Well done.
Yep.
So, we'll pretty much be covering everything that we haven't talked about since we last talked, which includes PAX Australia, the concept ship sales, the sale of. God, what was it?
The Redeemer, Herald, and Gladius.
Yeah, but the Redeemer and well, I guess the Redeemer kind of is a concept sale.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, the Herald was the concept sale, and then we had the two hangar sales, which was the
The
Redeemer and the Gladius.
right
Although the Redeemer had LTI because it never had a
concept
concept
sale.
sale.
Yeah,
Right.
so kind of is, kind of isn't. Um, and then we'll also talk about all the things that have happened since. Also, we've lost Eric Peterson, which is really sad. We've got the update to the Redeemer ships. The stats have been changed to some people's happiness or anger. Is there anything else we've missed?
Not much. Mostly, I think it was just the sales, some stat changes, and the FPS module. I think those were kind of the biggest things that have popped up.
Oh, and going along with the FPS module, whether or not there should be sales of equipment packages regarding the FPS module. So we'll go over all those things. Let's go back chronologically to PAX, talk about the FPS. What were your thoughts on that?
I thought it was pretty interesting. I thought they kind of overdid it a little bit with the tactical dialogue, but other than that, I thought it was an interesting looking demo. Um, it seemed to be fairly tactical, at least until they turned the gravity off, and then it seemed to be kind of a free for all.
Yeah.
I was a little sad that they were not able to include some of the um, aspects of the game that got shown off when footage from like their pre-playing occurred. Like 'cause it looked like they practiced a little bit before the actual live demo, where they showed off things like the dragging mechanics and
Healing.
the heal gun. Yeah,
Yeah, I would have liked to see more in those two.
but,
Go ahead.
I'm not really sure how I feel about the whole magic heal ray, but
Yeah, I was kind of hoping we left the medic gun behind us with Team Fortress 2. But, we'll see where it goes from there. Um, I'm in the same place as you. The demo felt a little staged to me. Didn't That doesn't really hit me with the best note, but I understand why. Like, I'm sure everyone's sick of demos just going sideways.
yeah.
But the gameplay itself seemed interesting. Not a lot of peeking around corners though, which I was expecting a lot more of after hearing from the developers during their ask and answer, weekend.
Yeah, that's true.
A lot of just running up and shooting people in the face. But one thing I'm curious about actually is in Battlefield 4, they do have that suppression mechanic. You know what I mean? Like when you get a lot of fire on someone, their vision starts going blurry. They can't quite see or aim properly. How are they going to implement something like that in this game? I mean, like,
They might not even have to. I mean, they might not have to implement it from a gameplay perspective, like as in adding like a actual visible effect. At least, say for if they're going to treat death as seriously in Star Citizen as they are claiming to, I think suppression will just have its own psychological effect on the players because they don't want to die. Um, you can kind of get an effect like this in DayZ, where Daisy or Arma, where you really don't want to go down, and you can go down fairly easily. So if someone's putting a lot of fire on your position, you don't want to stick your head out.
that's true. As soon as you hear gunshots in DayZ or Armor, you just hit the deck. And you stay
Right.
there until you know what's happening. But in that combat situation, though, that really wasn't what was happening. And
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, I understand from the viewpoint of FPS module is practice, like Arena Commander. You obviously wouldn't normally fly that recklessly, but the idea is to start teaching players how to approach the game such that they'll be able to operate with some level of proficiency in the persistent universe. And it seems to contradict that purpose.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think with the FPS module, we're gonna have to wait and see how it develops over the next couple months. I think they said that they're anticipating a fairly early release sometime next year. So hopefully they polish it a little bit more. It gets a little bit more tactical over the next few months.
Yeah, and I don't know. The whole tactical thing seems from the demo to have more to do with the players than the mechanics. And that might just be me.
Yeah, it depends on how well they implement features like cover and leaning, and as well as a lot of the additional items, like how well they implement the use of those. Like we saw the deployable
Shields.
shield,
Yeah.
yeah, stuff like that. How well they implement things like flashbangs. They had like EMP grenades, deployable cover, things like that. How will they implement stuff like that and the ability to, only expose yourself partially to look and stuff like that. We'll have to see how well that's
Well,
implemented.
that's something else too. Is you think that one of the first items they develop would be something to help investigate a room without having to stick your head out.
Yeah, you'd think.
I mean, um, but approaching the FPS demo from the mechanics, the physics-based everything, animation-based everything, I'm actually really excited for it.
Yeah, no, I think it's got a really good concept. Despite the fact things kind of went crazy once they did it in the demo, I actually thought it was really interesting. Like you can do things like turn off the gravity, for example, which really changes how cover is going to work. Because your cover might float away from you if it's not directly attached to the floor, stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, things went a little helter skelter in the demo, but I'm hoping that's more an anomaly than what we should expect.
Yeah.
Something else to talk about for that too is was it just me or when the gravity went off, didn't they lose lights? Like I noticed it was really hard to see in some parts of that demo.
Yeah, I got really dark. I wasn't sure if that was due to the fact because it's like kind of a ransacked station to begin with, or if like that thing they shut down was like the whole core of the station.
Yeah. So it would have been cool to actually to see like weapon lights at that point. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was something I noticed. They didn't have a lot of weapon lights or like night vision or anything
Or at
like
least
that.
something they could attach to the suit even, like in Aliens.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, so I think there was some missed opportunities, but that may just be a matter of deadline than anything. Just trying to get
yeah,
us to see it. You know what I mean?
yeah. I mean, I think the whole thing was a little lackluster comparatively speaking to Citizen Con, and I don't really blame CIG for that. It was very close following Citizen
Yeah,
Con.
there wasn't a
So
lot of time in between, and they had a lot of big reveals for Citizen Con.
right, so I didn't really expect it to quite meet that same level of awesome with its reveals. So I don't know. I'll be curious to see in a few months what comes out of the FPS module and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm definitely hoping to see more on it soon, but given how close we are, according to them, to the release, I could see them kind of going, lights out for a while until it's time for the module to drop.
Yeah.
So that pretty much covers the FPS demo. I don't think there's any. Well, that's not true. We could talk about the weapon packages now if you wanted.
That'll work.
Yeah, let's throw that in there then. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know like what kind of packages they could offer. I mean, I guess you could offer like the guns individually, but if they did that, I feel like they should be fairly inexpensive. At
Yeah,
least when you compare them with full starships, like a couple bucks or something like that.
and something else too is whether or not we should even include them.
Yeah, you and I were kind of talking about that before we started recording earlier.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I know the persistent universe won't be pay to win, but as long as the guns are balanced, I don't really have a problem with it. But if like one gun's like way more powerful than the other ones, and they make it more expensive, like just for the FPS module, I'm not as big a fan of that.
Yeah.
But
Well, it's one thing in the the space universe because the more powerful ships usually have more crew members. It's a little harder
right,
to wield.
right,
When it comes to a first-person shooter, obviously, actually, I shouldn't say that. They might have usable
crew served weapons.
Yeah.
Probably not in the FPS module though. Although it would be interesting if you could set up like some kind of mounted equipment on the inside of your ship if you had like a bigger ship.
Well, I mean, thinking about it, it does make kind of sense because you do have ships that are supposed to deploy troops onto the battlefield. So I think having crew-served weapons that can shoot down those ships, it makes sense.
Yeah, I'm just saying not for like the first iteration of the FPS module.
Yeah,
I don't see that
yeah.
as being likely,
No.
but
No. I think the first implementation of FPS is supposed to be like just basic ground combat or boarding combat, right?
yeah, small arms stuff like that. I know. I heard that they were starting to work. The Manchester offices, I think, were starting to work on 2.0 of Arena Commander.
Which is multi-crew.
Right, and I actually heard that they were breaking out the Idris and starting to use that for some of their testing for like boarding activities and stuff like that. So it sounds like that might become a thing eventually, but I don't know.
Yeah, so I guess in that respect, it makes some sense to have like a really OP weapon, but to have it crew served. But like just from a basic like shotgun, SMG, assault rifle, pistol, sniper rifle, as long as they're balanced, I wouldn't mind some sort of, assortment being released into the weapon store. But you're right. I mean, they're like what, 1/4 the size of a ship weapon. It would make sense if they were cheaper.
Yeah, like if they were charging like 70
4,000
bucks.
UE
Yeah.
credits.
Well, that's actually another question: is would they charge UEC or would they charge cash?
I would
Which,
assume credits.
UE. Yeah. I mean, yeah, a couple thousand UEC I think would make sense.
Or these
well,
black market scrubbed guns.
Yeah, I guess.
It's like
Yeah, I don't
payday
know.
costs.
Right. I don't know. I mean, what I think would be really interesting, although I don't know if they've given a timeline for their character customization yet, have they?
Not that I recall.
It'd be interesting if they also offered like armor and stuff like that, like different skins.
And that was one of the suggestions from the forum members.
I don't know if I necessarily think that they should say offer the. I can't remember what class it is, but there's a
Titan?
class.
Exo?
Yeah, there's like exosuits that are like supposed to be like the power loader from Aliens. I don't know if that's necessarily like. I don't know if I feel like that should necessarily be up for pledge. Although I mean, it'd be interesting. I mean, we already have, at least in the people we know that are mildly interested in Star Citizen, there's at least a couple that they just want to be Marines.
Yeah.
So,
Well, the one way to look at it too is that for people who do want to be Marines, I don't see why not. I mean, we already released the Hornet for people who want to be fighter pilots.
yeah, that's why I was like, I don't. That's why I like thought about it for a second. I was like, I don't know, maybe we should have that up for grabs because it'll give some people that just want to be Space Marines,
Chance to be Space Marines.
right?
Now, do you think they'd be Ultramarines, Space Wolves, or Dark Angels?
Depends on the player,
Yeah. As long as it's for the Emperor, it doesn't matter.
right? Be interesting to see how we're going to deploy people in the suits, though, because I mean, based on the description, that'd be rather large. Yeah, I don't even know if you could fit that off a Redeemer. You'd have to like fly in with a Constellation and just open the cargo bay.
Well, one of the things too is that, and they were discussing this with the Redeemer, boarding essentially is just going to happen with EVA, even with the boarding ship. I had originally thought the boarding ship would actually attach to the intended target, but it's just EVA.
So they're not saying that the Redeemer's going to attach either, because I could have sworn the Cutlass originally had like some kind of weird docking collar.
The Cutlass does. The Cutlass does.
But that's like the only one.
That I know of so far. Yeah.
Interesting.
So, I mean, if that's the case, if there's some kind of thruster system set up on the Titan, maybe.
Yeah,
You'd still have to break that through whatever hole you cut into the ship, though. And that's got to be a sizable hole.
just put like a power saw on one arm and like a heavy machine gun on the other. So just like cut your way in, right?
It's like the orc def cans.
Yeah, knock knock.
Yeah. So I don't know where a lot of people fall down on that. I'm actually kind of leaning towards 4 offering packages, but I think they should be offered in credits, and I think they should be pretty cheap.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Let me see. FPS module, weapon
Sales?
packages. Yeah, sales. There you go.
Well, I was relieved and disappointed that they didn't release the Retaliator.
Your wallet was relieved.
Yeah, very relieved.
Yours and mine.
Yeah, I did end up upgrading my ship, oddly enough, to something that isn't even like one of the, rarer sales. I upgraded using a cross-chassis upgrade from my Aurora to a Hornet. But they put up the Gladius, the Redeemer gunship, and the Herald up for sale. I was actually kind of interested in the Redeemer a little bit, but I don't know. That's like Retaliator costs for something I don't find quite as cool, even though I think it's a really cool ship.
It definitely has its purpose, which is apart from the Redeemer. The Redeemer, or rather the Retaliator, is really meant for combating larger ships, whereas
Right.
Redeemer's really not.
Yeah, I'd say it's meant for combating. The Redeemer's meant for combating medium to small ships, especially with its current boost in firepower.
Combat or capture, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, can really put the hurt on. I think with the upgrade CIG did do its gun package. I think made it a lot more of an attractive option for the price they wanted to sell it for.
Well, that's one of the things too. Is originally it was $25 more than a Constellation. It still is that price, but the weapons package was not impressive for the price. And now that they've upgraded it, there's a lot of people who are up in arms about it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think personally they would have been better off selling it for somewhere sub 200.
Yeah, like 175-ish or something.
Yeah, with its original loadout, but they decided they wanted to sell it for that much. And I think if they, decided to sell it for less, that would have caused a lot of problems, like after they had initially released it anyway. So they buffed the weapon package, and it spawned a lot of people. Some people were serious in requesting, like, buffs for whatever ship they currently own. Or, there's a lot of joke threads out there. I think somebody I saw put it best by being like, you see, CIG, this is why governments don't negotiate with terrorists.
Yeah. Oh my god. But I think it was a good change. Whether or not they did it because people were complaining or because they actually reviewed it internally, I don't know. Like, it might have just been a coincidence.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's likely it might get nerfed a little bit come Persistent Universe, but we'll have to wait and see. I don't think it'll get nerfed back to where it was originally, though. But I gotta say, the amount of weapons it has on it was very tempting.
Yeah, it's
for me personally.
It's an impressive complement of weapons. So, no to the Redeemer from me. You didn't pick one up.
I almost picked up a Gladius just because I think it's a really pretty ship, but I ended up going with the Hornet because I like the concept of something that's a little slower but
Tanky.
Heavier and with a lot of firepower. Yeah, even though I actually like the aesthetics on the Gladius a lot more.
I, on the other hand, did go for the Gladius. So, each to their own, I guess. So, so we had the Gladius that was running 90?
I'd have to look. Hang on. It might still be up.
I think it's 90. So it's a twin-engine, lightweight fighter. If you read the brochure, it mentions having actually a pretty stout armor plating around the ship. And also that the cockpit is especially armored. The amount of weapons on it is actually pretty impressive, given its weight. It's not too far off in weight from the M50. And it's got quite a bit more firepower to it.
So the cost on the ship is 105 for the package.
Right.
I'm looking for the solo cost of the ship now. 90, yeah, it's
Yeah.
90. Which was another reason I got the Hornet is the with the cross chassis upgrade it was $15 cheaper.
Yeah, you save money getting
Yeah,
the
and
Hornet.
and the Hornet's currently in game, like currently in Arena Commander. So there was a few reasons I went for the Hornet, but it is a beautiful ship.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, what do you think about the premise, though? You know what I mean? Like, right now in game, you have the Aurora, which is what we call the space potato.
Right.
You have
I
the
mean,
300i, which is kind of a balanced ship, but then you have the Hornet, which is the tanky turret, and then the M50, which is the buzzing fly.
right. I don't know. I think well, for starters, the space potato is actually not as much of a potato now. With the latest update, I found it a lot easier to hit things
Oh
in
yeah,
my
the lag
Aurora before I
pits.
upgraded.
Yeah.
Right, but I don't know. I think the M50 has proven recently that the small annoying fly can be very devastating.
At least without
Um,
armor being implemented.
yeah, I mean, I think armor is somewhat implemented. I mean, you know, to some extent, but they might not have fully implemented it yet. We'll have to see how things evolve over time, but yeah, the small buzzing fly can be pretty devastating at the moment. So I think something that's maybe a little smaller than the or a little
Heavier.
slower than the M50, yeah, with the
Yeah.
Gladius, but with more firepower is going to be an interesting thing to see.
Yeah, I'm excited, but we don't quite know how the mechanics of that are going to play out. So I guess we're going to have to wait till that actually goes Arena Commander ready. Um, Now they're talking about Arena Commander 1.0 coming out sometime soon. So I think when 1.0 hits, aren't all the single pilot ships supposed to be done?
Yeah, I know that was their goal. So hopefully, when Arena Commander 1.0 comes out, we'll have the Gladius, all the Hornet variants, all the Aurora variants, all the 300i variants, like all those be in Arena Commander, which would be really interesting. Um, I don't know if the Avenger is gonna be out in 1.0. I haven't heard one way or another. It's interesting because it's I think technically a single cruise ship, but it's big. Like it has like a big old cargo bay you can access in the back. Like I don't know if that's gonna.
Which is kind of interesting too, because that was supposed to be one of the ships that was supposed to be like done first, because it's supposed to be in Squadron 42.
Yeah, I think they've changed. They might have changed some stuff on it. It seemed to have got backburnered. I know they're working on 3 variants for it at the moment, so we'll have to see what they come out with for that.
Yeah, I originally the Avenger didn't interest me too much, but the more I look at like the updated models of it, I'm actually kind of impressed. It's a good looking, despite the fact that it's a penguin.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I am not. I would say if I had to pick a favorite ship manufacturer in universe, it would be Aegis, hands down. So I don't have a huge problem with the Flying Penguin,
Yeah.
personally.
Okay, so ship sale.
Do we want to talk about the new patch at all? I know we recorded.
A lot of contention about that. Yeah, we can at least talk about the updates.
Yeah, I mean we recorded something about it, but all of that got lost to the ether. So I wasn't
Yes.
sure if you wanted to lump it in with this one.
Yeah, I don't see why not. So we had Arena Commander 9.2 come out. It was actually a significant update over the previous versions. We have the update to the aiming system. You have the
Yeah.
lag pips now instead of like that predictive hitbox, which I actually really like.
Yeah, I like the lag pips. One thing I wish is like with gimbaled weapons, they would combine the aim points for the different weapons into one, so you don't have like multiple aim points. But other than that, I do really like it. They included a lot of features to help out gamepad and joystick users, and unfortunately, I don't have a gamepad or a joystick. Otherwise, I'd probably be flying with it. But so I can't really comment on how that helped or hindered gameplay.
Yeah, and I've seen some comment about the sensitivity of joysticks being harmed from the new update. I haven't really experienced that problem yet. I think that's from people who are using the HOMAS system, which I haven't really tried.
The hands over mouse
Mouse
and
and
stick.
yeah. Um, there was some people having issue just with the new update in general, but I've actually really enjoyed it. Like I've noticed a significant improvement in the way that the handles.
Okay.
Yeah, so that being said, and because of this update, for some reason, there seems to be a pretty big push now to try and get at least some kind of nerf for people who use mouse and keyboard in regards to gimbaled weapons.
Hmm.
Especially because people who use the HOTAS, they can't, independently control the firing reticle, at least not
Right.
without serious problems. Whereas mouse and keyboard obviously can.
Right.
So I don't really take a stance on that. I've seen some people who say that the HOTAS is more maneuverable, so it's kind of like it's an evens out. And I tend to lean towards that camp.
Yeah, I mean, from what I've seen, I think it's probably a better flying experience with the HOTAS. My basic plan is, unless like you're just absolutely horribly gimped using a HOTAS, which I mean doesn't seem to be the case. I'd rather have a HOTAS set up eventually, just for the immersion factor. But if you're like a super competitive player, I could see definitely staying mouse and keyboard for the better aiming.
At least for right now. We'll see how that changes with future updates.
Right.
So just get that out there, what else changed with the new update?
The addition of the ships, but we already covered that because that went
Yeah.
up for sale already. I think those are the biggest things, like the modifications to the HOTAS controls and the new lag pips. So that's about it. Is there anything else that we still need to cover? I'm trying to think. You want to talk a little about Wingman?
Yeah. Unfortunately, Sig has lost another to the move to Santa Monica. Eric Peterson has left CIG, which is what, the second senior member to leave?
Due to that move, yeah, I think so. I mean, my understanding is they were trying to consolidate a lot of their top level people in Santa Monica, and some people their life commitments just would not allow them to move. They wanted to stay where they were at in Austin, which is totally understandable. It's just unfortunate because they were, especially Wingman,
Yeah.
like one of the big faces for Star Citizen.
And that's one of the thing too, is like I didn't even know that Chris Olivier left until I read it on the forums. But Eric Peterson's a pretty big name. Like that's how I came into Star Citizen.
Right.
So I mean, losing the Wingmans is like, I don't know. It cuts me deep, Shrek.
Yeah, it's a bummer for sure.
So good luck to him on whatever his future ventures are. I think I heard that he's still pretty much hanging out around the development studio. Whenever he has free time.
Yeah, and I thought I heard he might be working on his own project at some point, like starting some kind of other project. So, but I haven't heard too much about that.
Yeah, yeah. So, and there's a lot of rumors floating around. I really don't think it's worth our time to try and dig into them. Speaking of rumors, there was a lot of talk about Sandy Gardner. If you want to cover that and what happened with PAX.
I'd have to pull that thread up. I honestly don't remember a
Well,
lot of that.
not the specifics, but the general idea.
Yeah, I've heard that there are some like just really negative rumors swirling around about that. Ben Lesnick seemed to put a pretty good stomp on that on the forums from what I saw.
Which was kind of nice to see. There was a
Yeah.
lot of criticism, I know, specifically about Around the Verse. A lot of people felt like Sandy was trying to get into the spotlight too much. And there was other people who was just like, oh, well, they're not professional entertainers, Like, with all the money we're kicking in, you'd think that they'd be able to get, like, a professional host or something to make it a little bit more entertaining. And I have to say, I actually kind of like the awkwardness that pervades through Around the Verse.
I don't know. I mean, the thing is, if they did invest that kind of money into doing a, better production like that, people would be complaining that they're spending development money on,
Oh,
making that
absolutely.
show.
Yeah.
Or they'd be complaining because the personality wasn't, true. I mean, regardless of whether or not the guy was a big fan of video games and Star Citizen and whatnot, that guy they got for Next Great Starship or whatever, people came
Oh,
down
they
on that guy
railed on him
hard
so hard.
because he did not look like your standard,
BDSSE
PC.
fan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a good way to put it. So, I mean, you're gonna have that problem if you decide you want to spend the money on like, a professional like newscast thing
Yeah,
out in Santa Monica or whatever.
it's
So,
definitely being stuck between a rock and a hard place. It's, no matter what happens, you're damned. So it's like, why take that on the development team? It doesn't seem right.
yeah, I mean, I do like Around the Verse. I liked Wingman's Hangar a little bit better, just because Wingman had a really good personality
Yeah,
for doing his thing.
he had some
But
amazing charisma.
no, I do like Around the Verse. I think it's actually getting a lot better
Oh yeah,
as time
yeah.
goes on.
It's definitely improved from the beginning. But like one of the things I like about it is that it is the development team. It is not some face that they hired to answer questions. It's actually the development team. I think there's a charm to that. And trying to replace them just because they seem a little awkward, it loses that charm.
Yeah,
I like to see Ben Lesnick and Sandy Gardner up there. There are some supremely awkward moments which are just delicious, especially during some of the interviews in the first episodes. But I mean, like
yeah.
even some of the segments, like Bug Smashers, I love that guy.
Yeah, that guy's great. That seems to be a very, I don't
On
know.
off for a lot of people. They
Yeah,
either
people.
really like it or really hate it.
It's pretty interesting though. I'll say that.
So I mean, that's my take on it. I'm happy that it's the development team, and it doesn't seem right to take it out on Sandy.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Um, okay, so we have that. That was attached to kind of PAX. I think that about covers it. No.
Yeah, I think that about wraps it up.
All right. Well, that seemed to go by really quickly. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
No, that's it. You ready to roll us out?
All right. Yeah. So this is Atlas. That's Ben Richards. Say bye bye, Ben Richards.
Have a good evening, everybody.
And we're out.